Hey guys, it's Whiskey, and this video is an update on the situation highlighted in my previous video called Dynasty's Ridiculous Ruling. I'm done. After publishing that video, I've been in communication with the server owners. One of the server owners, Philip, did watch the video. He said they all watched the video, and he communicated to me that they all agreed that we behaved exactly as we should have in that situation. That we were being and should have been very fiercely aggressive, and to drive those other gigas out of the POI, which is exactly what we did. So I was really pleased to hear that. I'm very disheartened and confused as to why the first moderator couldn't see that, because it was so plainly obvious, and that furthermore the head admin that it was escalated to also couldn't see that based on that video that you guys all watched. That is still very, very mind-boggling to me that people, especially people in positions of power that are moderators and administrators, can watch that situation and actually think somebody broke a rule. But nevertheless, that's what happened. And so I'm glad that the owners have looked at it and seen it for what it is, and have done the right thing and removed any kind of punishment or any kind of negative marks on my record because of that. That's good that they did that. That's the right thing. That's what they should have done. So that definitely helps me, helps my impression of the server a little bit. Now, I wish that it didn't take a public expose to get to that point. It's kind of frustrating that I gave the first two staff members like every opportunity. I mean, the ticket was open for days, and I explained it to them in several different ways. I quoted the rule book. I asked them questions like, you can see what we were doing and you can see what the profile says, and I mean, it should be obvious that we're trying to do what it says, even if it's true, which it's not true, but even if it's true what they said, that there was some technicality that revolving around some other rule in the rule book about challenging, and that somehow in some weird convoluted way that territory challenging another rival dinosaur is somehow different than driving them out. Even if that was true, which obviously we can all tell it's not true, but even if that was true, they should still, as neutral and fair, unbiased adjudicators, look at the situation and see that at least we were trying to follow the profile. And the right thing to do in that situation would have been to say, you know what, I can see why you did that, because you were following the profile as it reads, but there technically is this rule break that you broke. So since that is understandable, and it's not like you were doing something totally out of character profile or totally in violation of our, blatant violation of our rules, we're not going to issue a punishment, but we're just going to educate you and let you know that this is a strange one and that there is this technicality that you broke, so just don't do it again. And then you don't issue a punishment, you educate the player, and then you give them a chance now that they know, and maybe go work with the server owners to correct some unclear wording. That would have been the appropriate way to handle the ticket if it was even true. But what makes it worse is that it wasn't even true. That territory challenging is exactly the same thing as driving out the rival gigas. So that's what really disappoints me and frustrates me about the whole situation still. Now, I do have to say that the original staff member did issue me an apology, the original mod that took the ticket. So I'm really glad that she has integrity and she has good character, and she saw that there was a problem and that she made a mistake and she apologized. And I accept that apology, and that's all I can ask of anybody. We all make mistakes, and the important thing is, do you learn from it and do the right thing and move on to get better? And it sounds like she's going to do that. And so she has the character to be a good moderator, and I think she'll move on to be a good moderator one day, and that's great. Now, I can't say the same thing about the head admin. I haven't heard from them. I have to believe they still think they did the right thing, which is kind of concerning. Now, I also have to say that the server owner, Philip, who I've been in communication with, has been respectful and he seems reasonable, and it sounds like he's trying to do the right thing. Him and the other server owners already did edit that rule to clarify it. So that's good. I mean, that's a step in the right direction. I think you obviously need to make sure the rules are clear. I personally think that the rule was perfectly clear. And I think there's something deeper going on here. There's some other thing happening. I think it has to do with the way the staff are taught to handle tickets and the way that the culture and the staff there, when they're looking at tickets, the way they're handling them, I think is the real problem. Because anybody that can look at the phrase drive out the other gigas and not know that that's exactly what you do when you're territory challenging other gigas should not be a moderator. It wasn't that they just couldn't figure it out that those two things were synonymous. It's that they weren't even trying to figure it out. They were trying to figure out how a rule was broken and how they could punish me, rather than just looking at the situation from a neutral position and considering my perspective. They weren't really trying to just observe it and see what we were doing and why we were doing it and empathize with our situation and try to be considerate of our attempt to follow the rules. They really should have been asking, are these players behaving realistically and reasonably according to what the profile says? But instead of asking that question, they were asking, how can we prove a rule was broken here? And that's really what caused them to get this wrong, not the fact that the rule was unclear, in my opinion. It's not going to be the final solution, just clarifying a rule, as what Philip told me they're going to do, and it sounds like he thinks that's all that needs to be done. I don't know that for sure, but based on our conversation, that's kind of what it sounds like to me. He's saying, oh yeah, it was just a mistake in the rules. Sorry, everybody makes mistakes. Let's move on, kind of thing. But I don't think it's that simple. I really don't. They need to address the fundamentals and the methods that the staff is using to judge tickets. Another thing that supports this point is that an ex-Dynasty staff member commented on the original video and goes to great lengths and uses all kinds of mental gymnastics to show how there was some technicality that proves that territory challenging is somehow different than driving out other gigas. And they're looking at this same video that the server owners looked at, that we all looked at, and that all agree that there's nothing wrong with what we did. And this staff member is now the third staff member that looks at it and concludes the opposite of what really happened. That there's no rule break, but they somehow see a rule break where there really is none. And that, I think, speaks volumes to what's really going on and what the real problem is. And it's how these staff members are taught and the way they're judging the tickets. And when I told that staff member that the server owners have already told me that I did nothing wrong, that staff member said, well, that's how we were taught. And I think that is a really good point and something I wanted to share with everybody to show that it's something going on with the way the staff is judging tickets, and it's not just because there's an unclear rule. Imagine all the other people that have been punished for this same type of situation. People that didn't have a YouTube channel to go and do a public expose to get noticed. You know, just normal players like most of you guys, you know, just trying to play the game and trying to follow the rules, but getting punished for it. Like, how many times did that happen? Why does it take a public expose to get this situation corrected and to get the attention of the owners to realize they need to change something to make their server a fair place for everybody to play? All I can hope is that the server owners see that and that they take measures to change it. Another issue that further exacerbates this problem is that there is a bully culture among the player base in the Dynasty server. There's a group of players who I call realism snobs that exist in Dynasty and other realism servers, but it's very prevalent and obvious in Dynasty. But they bully others by abusing the ticket system to punish players that they don't deem worthy to be on their sacred little server. It's important to note that the players that made the ticket against me that in that video, I've been in contact with them, and they're not friends with the staff like I suspected they might have been, because I just couldn't figure out why the staff would look at that video and say that I broke a rule. So I figured there's ulterior motives, and I thought it was a possibility that they were friends of the staff, but they were not. It turns out they were just regular players making a ticket because they thought a rule was broken. So I don't I don't fault them at all. They were just doing what they thought they should do. But they knew that they could possibly get a staff member that would side with them, and they did. But that aside, based on my experiences here on the server, and a lot of my friends' experiences, and a lot of the experiences that you all have shared with me, my viewers and subscribers, it shows and it points to the fact that there is this bully culture that exists, and people are making tickets over somebody swiping their tail through a rock for a little bit too long, or staying 1 second in the water, their toe touched the water for a second longer than it should. And this is all examples of ticket abuse, and it needs to stop. It contributes to these ridiculous rulings that you saw in that original video that I posted. And it makes it a miserable place instead of a fun place for us all to play our favorite game. And it's a shame that the Dynasty staff seems to be enabling that right now with the way that they're handling the tickets. And I really, really feel like it needs to change if this server is going to survive, and if we're going to have a place. I mean, it's got potential, but they're going to need to change that if they want it to last, and they truly want to have a place for us all to have fun and enjoy our favorite game together. Now, based on my conversation with Philip, it sounds like he wants to correct that. He says he's eliminating the bad apples from the staff, and that he's banned a lot of troublemakers from the server. So I hope that that's sincere and that they do that. But I really hope that they see this bully culture, and they see the problem with the ticket abuse, and that they make some changes to correct that and to fight against it, because something needs to be done about it. We should all be able to have fun and enjoy this game together without having to walk on eggshells and be in constant fear of accidentally breaking some obscure rule because of some weird technicality, or being baited into a rule break by a bully seeking only to punish us because they know they can get us to make a mistake and step in the water for more than 10 seconds in a battle, or your tail kind of like accidentally swings through a rock, God forbid, when you're fighting for your life. Then they make a ticket on you and you get in trouble for meshing or for abusing the water rule. Like, this kind of stuff should not be happening on this server. And you've got a good portion of the moderators that are only going by the rule of the law rather than the spirit of the law, and it should be the other way around. So anyway, I'm really hoping that my voice and my platform with this YouTube channel can help with that, and I hope to give you all a voice to help with this as well. And you can help by commenting, by sharing this video and my first video. And anytime you get into a ticket with the staff, you tell them that if this person is abusing the ticket system to bully you, tell the staff that. Because if it's a simple mistake and you just made a simple mistake while you were trying to follow the rules, that's different than blatantly going around breaking rules. And the staff should recognize that and acknowledge that and handle these tickets accordingly. And so I've asked the Dynasty owners to do two things. And I think these two things will really help improve the server. Number one, I think that they should make an announcement to their whole community explaining to everybody that ticket abuse is a form of bullying and that it won't be tolerated in their server, and it will be met with strict consequences. And number two, that the staff are better trained to look at rule break tickets from a neutral perspective and ask first and foremost when they're looking at a ticket, was the player behaving realistically and reasonably according to the profile? And if the answer is yes, and the player somehow still accidentally broke a little rule because of a technicality or an honest mistake, then those players should not be punished, but they should simply be educated and give them a chance to go and get it right. I don't know if they're going to do this. I really hope they do. But if you agree, then please let them know in the comments here. And I think that with the help of you guys, all my awesome subscribers, and the larger Path of Titans community that watch my videos, that together we can make this a better place for us all to enjoy our favorite game. And like I said, if you agree, then like the video and share the video, share your comments. Let's support these actions, and let's make your voices heard, and let the server owners know that we want this change ASAP. It remains to be seen if they're going to listen and respond, or if they're just trying to do PR and try to get this behind them so they can move on. I don't know. Like I said, we'll find out. It remains to be seen. For now, I'm not going to be playing on Dynasty, as I said. I'll be playing on other servers, but I hope that this helps change. And if they do show that they will change and that they will take these measures to improve their server, then I'll definitely give it another shot in the future. And I hope other servers see these videos, and it's a lesson to them too, to not allow the bully culture to dominate your server. And please train your staff to be neutral adjudicators, looking at things from all perspectives, and try to be unbiased and fair and reasonable, and make the judgments accordingly. That's the update, guys. Thanks for watching, and as always, I hope to see you out there in Gondua. Goodbye.